priming or prompt priming. So here the user said, create 3 potential titles for my online course that teaches how to use AI. Here, you notice that you are asking it to do something, you've not given it enough information. So anything that comes to the AIs, it will randomly generate anything for you. Okay. But here, prompt priming was used. Same thing, but the user went on to say that I've given you some examples. So these are examples: video editing masterclass, edit your videos like a pro, cinematographic masterclass, the complete videographer's graph, right? Now, it has given example and then it is asking the AI to emulate the styling and writing format of these particular ones. So it's like most likely that the AI has this information in its database and it will write exactly to this particular tonation or to this particular styling or written format. So prompt styling simply means that you give further details. The more details you give, the more it will fine tune the response. So when it comes to creating stuff, don't give generic prompts, but give detailed prompts. Make sure that you give it the styling, the format, and everything that it's supposed to do. This is another type of prompting that we call the chain of thought prompting. Chain of thought prompting simply means that the AI is not supposed to just give you the answer, but it's supposed to give you the thought process involved in doing this. So I'll give you a typical example. Uh, Let me stop sharing once again and then share the prompt screen. Okay, so can you see the screen?
Yes, sir. That's a deep seek.
The DeepSeek, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to log in. Yes, I want to log in. Now, I'll be asking 2 questions. This one is a Chinese app and this one is another one. So I'll create a new chat so that we ask. So let me ask a general question. You all know what a prime number is. So what is a prime number? So I'll ask this same AI, what is a prime number? Before that, let me explain the architecture of these systems to you quickly whilst it's trying to answer us. Now, we all know a prime number is a whole number greater than 1 and has exactly 2 distinct positive divisors, 1 in itself. So 2 is 1, 3 is 1, 5, 7, 11, 13, and so on. 2 is the only even prime number. All other prime numbers are divisible by 2. So they are not prime. 1 is not a prime number because it has only 1 positive divisor itself. Now, one thing about this AI is that, first of all, we said AI can give factual information. That's one, meaning that if I want to know who is the president of the United States of America, it can only say Donald Trump. It can't say any other thing because we know currently the 47th president or the 48th president of the United States of America is what? Donald Trump. So that is factual information. However, There are certain questions that demand reasoning. Reasoning. What is reasoning? Reasoning simply means that you are going beyond just giving factual information to give a logical answer. So most of the times we reason most of the times. Anytime you are in school because you reasoned the reason why you should be in school. You should have gone to do something else. You should have gone to start a business. You could have gone outside Ghana. You could have stayed in Ghana. There were so many things involved, but you decided that I'll go to school and study ICT or study business. And that is what we call reasoning. Reasoning means that you go beyond facts and then make decisions. So as at now, most of the models give factual information. They are not yet so good at reasoning information. I told you most of these AI models are still under development. They are just making money out of it. That's why they've released them. So, for example, you can see search here and then you can see reason here. At first, if you want to access this particular thing before responding, you pay $200. ChatGPT has three tiers. We have free, we have $20, and then we have $200. In fact, the free one we are using, the capabilities that we are even wild about is nothing to write home about. If you start paying for the $20 or $200, that's when you see the actual capability of, for example, ChatGPT. So at first they were doing that. You have to pay $200 before the AI will actually reason, make logical uh, decisions. Then in January, I think on January 20th January, this Chinese company called High Flyer or um, DeepSeek, they released their own model, their own AI model for free. Okay. So meaning that you can even copy their code, you can copy the whole model, you can even build your own from scratch. You can also use their own model for free. And then that thinking capability, they called it Deep Think R1, meaning that even the thinking capability that the ChatGPT has, and then they were charging it for $200, they released it for free. So that forced, it forced, what's the name? ChatGPT to also release theirs for free. So we'll be testing the two. Now, I want to ask it another question and then make it reason. I want to explain the chain of thoughts for you. Chain of thought simply means that before you answer me, think through all the possible answers logically before you give me the final decision. So it means that most of the times we all do that. We all human beings do that. We have reasoning capabilities. Our brains are built to do that, to make logical reasoning and then before we conclude. So I'll turn this on. It's now blue. The search here simply means that it should tell me where it got the information. So if it's from a certain website, it should give me tell me where it got the information from. But I'll not turn on that one first. So I'll ask it, okay, now that you are saying the prime numbers are from 2 to 13 and so on, which one is the and so on? Where does it end? So I'll ask, what then is the largest prime number? And then I've asked it to reason. There are so many other things that you can do. You can ask it to create an image, create a canvas for writing code. So I'll do that. And then I'll do the same thing on the DeepSeek. What then is the largest prime number? Over here too, it was also able to give me a particular answer. The first few primes are 2, 3, 5, 7, up to 29. 2 is the only even prime number. All other prime numbers are all. It similarly gave us the same answer. Why are they important? In fact, you see, it gave us more information. It gave us more information. Let's look at this one. Didn't tell us how we use prime numbers. Here, it told us that we use it in fundamental number theory. We use it in cryptography. We use it as building blocks in natural numbers. Okay, here I forgot to ask it to reason. So let me edit it and ask it to reason. I forgot to do that. So I'll do it again. I came to the edit and then I came to the deep think so that it will be light blue. And I'll do it again. What then is the largest prime number? So it's thinking. Let's look at the thinking process of ChatGPT. It reasoned about the largest number for a few seconds and then it says that no largest prime number exists. In fact, there is infinitely many prime numbers. This fundamental result has been known for 2,000,000, 2,000 years, and is attributed to the ancient Greek mathematician Euclidean. And then it gave uh, how it went about, right? How the whole answer is. So uh, I wanted us to see the reasoning process. I asked it to reason for me and it didn't show me the reasoning process. But this one will show me the reasoning process, how it reasoned into that particular answer. Here is the reasoning process for this particular one. You can see that it's giving you how it went about it. After I explain what a prime number is, let me think about how to approach this. First, I need to recall that Euclid proved that 2,000 years ago that we have infinitely many primes. So by definition, there isn't a largest prime one because prime numbers go on forever. But maybe the user is thinking about the largest known prime number. So here, through reasoning, he got to know that, okay, someone has already proved that prime numbers go on forever. So maybe what I was rather asking was what? Which one do we know? What is the largest prime number we know? So it's now saying, okay, then let me explain to the user that there is no largest prime number, but mention that the mathematicians have found extremely large primes, especially through projects like games. The largest record holder is in 2023, who found it to be 2 raised to the power 82,589,933 minus 1, and is called a meson prime, which has a specific form and it's easier to check for primality with algorithms like the Lucas-Hema test, meaning that they found it and then you can prove it using a particular test called the Lucas-Hema test. Wait, I need to check the current status. So you see, it's still reasoning as a human, just like a human being. Even though the last one was in 2023, we are in 2025. But now it has reasoned that it's gone to check, and then still on the internet, it is saying that still the last known update was in what? Still in 2023. So you notice that it has gone further to still think, making logical decisions before finally giving you the output. I should also explain why we can't just find the next one by adding or something. Maybe briefly touch on Euclid's proof to reinforce the infinity of primes. Oh, and perhaps clarify that even though we know primes are infinite, finding each new largest one requires significant computational effort, which is why it's big deal when they are found. So you notice that it even went further to also say that make sure to keep the tone friendly because maybe you don't know who I am, who the user is. Maybe the user is just someone who is curious, doesn't know much about mathematics. So it has now reason to what? Make sure that you avoid any technical jargon, but still be informative. Structure the answer step by step. Start by stating that there is no largest prime. mention Euclid's proof, and then talk about the largest known prime number, and then invite further questions. So now you notice that we've now seen the reasoning process of the answer. We are is not now like Google search where because you just ask an information, it will spit out an answer to you. Why do we have this reasoning process being given to us? This help
Huh?
us to
And
understand the reasoning processes
how join
behind some of this. So
the
maybe if you feel the
yeah,
reasoning process is wrong, you can even know if the answer is wrong, you may know from the reasoning process. It makes AI very transparent so that
Amadea would
you can
do
reason along. You don't just read an answer and feel that the answer is 100% correct, whereas it may be wrong. So if
and
you notice that
I like
the answer was very brief here, but it
no problem,
had
no
a
problem.
lot of reasoning gone
How would you
gone
believe
into it. It was able to give us the largest prime number over here.
it?
And they are saying that writing this particular one will fill 9,000 pages. That's why they decided not to give it to us. Okay, so try stating the largest prime number now. I'm not sure it will. Let's try. It doesn't need to think again, so I'll turn that one off and see what it will give us. Oh, did I say stating? Oh no, try stating. Okay, let me turn it on again.
Mo ti lò tán, but kí ló
Okay,
fà
so they said it's 25 million digits. So it cannot write it out. That should tell you how big it is, right? And it will fill
á?
9,000 pages of maybe an A4 paper.
Mo ń bèrè ẹyin
And then they said it's stored in this particular file. Well, let's not even try it.
ṣáà rẹ̀ lójú.
So that is what we call chain of thought prompting. Chain of thought prompting. If you have any question about
Thank
this,
you
you
very
can
much,
ask. If
God
you don't
bless.
have, we continue.
Um,
Okay.
nítorí pé aláṣẹ
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
tó kọ̀ lè
So
dọ̀la
please, per
Mm,
your experience with the AI
ó sì
apps,
tó bẹ́ẹ̀ ni òun.
yeah.
the DeepSeek and the GT,
Gbọ́dọ̀
which one do you prefer, or which one do you think it
àmì
does the
àkọlé
thinking most perfectly than the other?
Mm.
àkànní lè fi ṣe gist.
Okay,
Lọ́jọ́
very
ìṣàkọ̀
good
tẹ́ǹpù
question.
wájú ṣá.
Very good question. Someone asked this on Thursday, right? And then the answer I gave was that uh, most of this AI are very experimental. Okay, they are all using different models. It's a set of people, programmers that and mathematicians and computer scientists. They sit down and then they are building their systems independently. So most of the systems that they build, they are not a one size fits all. Okay, so what I've experienced, per my experience, what I've experienced is that I can't pinpoint to any of these as the ultimate. I can't pinpoint to any of this as the ultimate because you notice that it's a general intelligence. It's supposed to be able to do anything. But you notice that there are certain things that Meta.ai is good at that ChatGPT and DeepSeek will not be good at, or Grok will not be good at. And there are a lot, in fact, there are a lot of things that ChatGPT is very good at that I've noticed that DeepSeek is also not good at,
Ló mú
and
jẹ
then
òun
Meta
yà sí
and Grok
méjì
are not good
mẹ́rin.
at. And same thing, there are so many things that DeepSeek is very good at that ChatGPT is not very good at. So me per se, I can't pinpoint. But when we go to specific examples, then you can now pinpoint. So the bottom line here is that if you want to know for yourself, it's just like you are gathering information. If you want to know which book provides the best information for you, in the library, what do? Pick the same books. Maybe you want to know about calculus. So you pick two calculus books. You yourself, you have to judge which book explains integration better to you, gives you better examples, and then gives you challenging problems to solve. That is for you to judge. So, same way, if you want to know which AI gives you, and make sure that you care for yourself. If you're able to judge for yourself, then this is mainly because a lot of us don't even read responses. Is not you shouldn't assume that the AI knows everything. And then you should also use the AI as a learning process. So don't just say, oh, let me go for the best, and then uh, so far as I assume I give it any prompts, I shouldn't even read, it will give me the best answer. Always make sure that you read and read carefully and make your own informed decisions and deductions from it, because you are using it to learn and not to just do anything that you like. You are using it to learn, you are using it to assist in whatever you do. So you do that. But let me also zoom in into this. So you notice that the reason why I typed the same prompts here is that I wanted you to compare. For example, you will notice that ChatGPT was very good at reasoning. Let's look at the reasoning process for uh,
Sorry.
listen. It was supposed to show. I don't know why it's not showing. In fact, it's so small that it's not
But
showing
they
it to
make
me.
me blind.
But from my experience, I've noticed that, in fact, the reason why
If I'm a
this
Jawa,
DeepSeek had a lot of hype was that
I'm about to
it was just so good at reasoning. Okay. They introduced a very
Yes.
interesting mathematical model called the chain of thought, which none of this, the Meta was not using, the ChatGPT was not using it, and all other chatbots were not using it. So this chain of thought reasoning made this one very powerful
I'm
at
in Jabado.
not just
Good.
spitting out factual information, but making sure that it logically understands your prompt and then logically goes through the database before it finally gives you an answer. So for me, if it comes to reason, if you want to really understand the reasoning behind prompts, then this one is the one for you to use. The DeepSeek is for you to use if you are very curious about knowledge and not just AI spitting out information for you. Then you can use this for your studies and you can use it for anything that you want. Because from the reasoning, you can even ask it to give you further answers. Like, for example, maybe I don't know what this particular test is. Where is the test? The Lucas lemma test is a mathematical test to check whether a number is prime. So I can now say that, okay, explain the Lucas lemma test to me. So this may not have been mentioned in in the final answer, but because I read through the reason, I know that there is something behind it. There is a way that you can find a prime number, and then it will be
I'm a Jonathan.
it can be tested. So I can
Don't
now
know
ask it to what, explain it to me. Then it should be able to do that. So the key idea is that a prime should
We didn't
be
want it.
using a recursively defined sequence. So you notice that it explains it to me in much more details. Okay. So when it comes to reasoning, I'll choose this one over this. But when it comes to creating certain detailed information, I've also noticed that DeepSeek is very good at that. A lot of you are not giving me prompt ideas. If you give me a prompt idea, we can explore it in detail so that we really make use of some of this AI practically. So I'll be waiting for that. You can jot down prompts. When we finish the techniques, then you can ask more questions about any of the techniques. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, please, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, let's move on. So let me stop sharing the screen and then reshare the the next one. Okay, so I hope you can all see the slideshow. Let's move to the next.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's move to the next type of prompting. The next type of prompting is called. So these are some of the chain of thoughts techniques. You can use it for entity extraction, summarization, and then sentiment analysis. And these are some other examples that you can go and try. What is the diameter of the sun? Let's think step by step. What is the weight of an oxygen molecule? Let's think step by step. So meaning that without even turning on that particular one, you can actually make it gives you the step by step process of going through a particular answer. So it's not just about turning on that particular reasoning model, but you can also just give direct and specific instructions in your prompt. So we move. The next, the next type of uh, prompting technique is what we call. So first of all, we discussed the prompt priming, and then we've discussed the chain of thoughts prompting. Let's discuss the ask before answer prompting. What is this? It means that sometimes you may not really uh, know what parameters that you need in your answer. So you don't, maybe you don't know much about that particular thing, but you want the prompt to or the AI to guide you. So you don't even know the specific questions you ask. You want to ask, or don't want you don't know the specific parameters to provide it to the AI. So what you do is that you first of all have to let the AI know that you don't know much about that particular thing you are coming to do, but it should give you certain information. And those information or those questions can now further guide you to complete your task. So let's look at this example. My question is, how can I drive more sales for my consulting business? Your task is to create a step-by-step guide for me to implement into my business. So you can see the one in red here. Please ask any questions you have so that I can improve my prompt before I complete my task. So when you do that, you've put yourself in a context that you are someone who doesn't know much about business, and then you are someone who doesn't know much about what driving sales. So it should now ask you specific questions so that you can now use those specific questions to improve on your prompt. So here, great. My question is, how can I use ChatGPT to what? Maximize my productivity. Your task is to make a weekly schedule that I can follow. Please ask any questions you have you have so that I can improve my prompt before you complete your task. So this is another example. So when you do this, the ChatGPT will know exactly what to do. So let me quickly check that prompt. Let's try that prompt quickly. Okay, so I'm coming to try that prompt in ChatGPT. I'll open a new. Aha, I'll quickly do something. You see, I told you from the beginning that there is one good thing about this AI, that when you change the subject, it knows how to adapt quickly. So within the same prompt, I'll ask this question. Great. My question is, how can I drive sales for my consulting business? So I press enter. I removed the reasoning so that it will be faster.
Any? Someone play ball. Then anything.
So here you see
Excuse me,
that,
sir.
yeah.
I think someone has a question.
Mo samba to the judge.
Ask
Okay, let
first.
me finish, then the person will ask. Just a
Okay.
minute. Thanks for the prompt.
Any?
Before I create your step-by-step
Mo pen.
guide to guide more sales for your business, I would love to ask you a few quick questions to make the guide highly tailored and then
Hmm?
actionable for you. So you know that we were talking about prime numbers. All of a sudden, we started talking about business, and it was able to quickly know exactly what I want. And that is one of the good advantages of AI. So a few more questions. What type of consulting firm are you? So I'll say that I'm a tech firm who deals in phone uh, assembly, phone manufacturing. Okay. And then, uh, oh, okay. This is more like who deals with consulting.